Hey, Star Wars fans. Hey, fans of Rule the Galaxy. It's Joe. I'm back. 1 week later, here we are. Rule the Galaxy is back on the air. And as always, you can follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. You can email us at rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. And we've started, and we'll do more, Rule the Galaxy on YouTube. Alfie had a recent one for about 5 minutes where he just went toy hunting with his kids, and it was very well accepted by the YouTubers, and we're having fun with it. So the last few weeks, we've had some special guests. We had author Adam Bray from Marvel and Star Wars. We had, Steve Glosson from the Golaverse, Geek Out Loud. Both of those guys are some of my favorites. I could listen to them all the time. And we'll do that again soon. They both offered up to come back as guests, so we'll do that. But tonight, we are back to normal. One thing we are adding on top of the Twitter, Gmail, and YouTube is a reminder that we are having a contest. We are giving away Rule of the Galaxy prize package. That is coming out on February 15th. We will pick a winner. All you have to do is go to your podcast platform of choice. Any of those, from Apple to Google to Spotify to iHeartRadio, go on there, subscribe to Rule the Galaxy. If you want to rate us, that'd be great. Give us a 5-star rating, whether you like it or not. And but if you subscribe, take a picture, screenshot of that subscription, and either DM me on Twitter or send us an email, rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. On the 15th, we will pull the winner, and I will get your address and mail you out a prize pack, which I think will be very well received. But in the meantime, we've gone through all the rigmarole, or as Steve Glosson would say, the yakety smack. So let's go around the room and introduce the crew of Rule the Galaxy. Let's start with my cousin, Alfie Molinaro. Alfie, how you doing?
Doing good tonight, man. Hoping I last more than 10 minutes this show.
Your young daughter has separation anxiety. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's how my dogs are to me now. The kids aren't that way, but the dogs are that way with me.
My kids are a little younger than yours.
My kids can almost have kids your kids' age. Anyway,
yes.
Ryan Massengale, glad to see you back. Hopefully you're doing okay. You said you weren't feeling 100%. Let's hope you can make it through the show here tonight.
Thanks, Joe. It's good to be back. I wanted to, there is a friend of ours.
Oh.
His name is Tom Line, who's a big listener to the show.
He is.
So I thought I made a T-shirt for him. But if anybody out there, he's our one listener. So if anybody out there, wants to have me wear their face on a T-shirt, just send their pictures to Joe, and we'll get that done for you.
I like this, Mass. If we could get you in a different T-shirt with a different listener's face on it every week. I'm all for that. And we'll put it on YouTube. They'll see their face on YouTube. It's a good plan. You hear that, listeners? That's the new plan. Please make the pictures PG or G rated. I just want to let you know that in advance. Thank you for your cooperation. Brent Dykeman, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. I was showing Joe my Star Wars Legion. I'm currently in the planning stages of making Maz's castle and a little Takadana setup in the scenery, getting into doing that. So hopefully I can execute that pretty well. I'm also looking at Canto Bight. So I have a new mat that is cobblestone ground, so I can do a casino scene of Canto Bight. So yeah.
Now is that on purpose?
See, I like the sequels. There's so much hate for the sequels, and we're gonna talk about it later.
I just asked a question. There was no hate there. I just asked a question.
No, I like the scene, and it's only the quick scene of the casino flying in. You see the courtyard with the statue of that weird looking horse. I don't have the weird looking horse thing, but I'm sure one of you guys knows the name of that animal.
The Farmir. Something like that.
I think you might be right. We'll look it up.
But you can see the streets and you can see the houses and all of that stuff. I'm really cool. I really liked that look. So I'm going to try and create that look so we can have battles on it. So I'm going to try and make an elevated platform to put the casino on, and then have some houses and streets that funnel into it.
I love it. I love it. Now your wife realizes that the podcast is my fault, but the Legions is your fault, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess. They kind of go hand in hand at this point. I didn't know about one until the other one started, but no, I've kind of dove in pretty hardcore.
That's okay. We all have to have our little hobbies and things like that. I'm glad that's yours. And you showed me a present earlier, so I'm excited about that. So I look forward to that new addition to my Star Wars Legions collection. So as we get going tonight, not a ton. Alfie had one thing, but we're going to bring back, as Brent mentioned in the past, Joey and I used to do this. We're going to bring back the Force 4. It's just 4 Star Wars topics that we're going to do to start the show. So I've got 3 things written down here, but since I'm the host and Alfie's the guest, Alfie, why don't you start us off with the number 1 on the Force 4, the news item you wanted to talk about?
Just some game rumors. I'm reading some rumors about a possible Battlefront 3 at the end of the year or a completely new shooter. So I like all the Battlefront games. Like another one. I'd also like to see more, something off on a different line. That'd be pretty cool.
So I think I've dabbled in maybe Battlefront, the first one. I don't play a lot of the games. Is that called a shooter game or is that called an open world game?
That's a shooter game.
Okay, because there was another thing I saw go along with that. Is the open world game the other one that they're talking about?
Yes, yeah, that's another one that I was reading about this week. A Star Wars open-ended game, similar to Far Cry. It's kind of one of the more popular open world games.
Okay.
They have a title or anything yet?
I haven't read any titles. Haven't really read anything other than it's being made by Ubisoft. That's about all the information I've seen.
Now, Mass, I know you're a gamer guy. You like you used to be. I'm sure you still dabble in it. Does any of that sound appealing to you?
Oh, I'd love to see an open world game. I am not good at the shooter games. My son picks me apart in a couple of. I don't last more than a few seconds. So, but the open world stuff I'd like to see. I always wanted to play. What was it? The Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, I always wanted to play that. I never got a chance.
Now I've read reports too that there's a third Knights of the Old Republic in development.
Really? See, I would love to see. I'd love to play one of those. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the to an open world game. I would probably start playing again if that came about.
Okay, Brent, with all the Legion stuff, would you have time to play any of the games?
I could find time to play, but so what were they saying would separate the or the Battlefront 3 from Battlefront 2? Did they say what would be a separation?
No, I haven't read anything as far as really game wise what it would be like. This is just pretty early in the rumor, department.
And you mentioned Knights of the Old Republic or Old Republic games. The other ones would probably be in the more original trilogy, sequel trilogy, kind of in that realm.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead,
Right. So I played a lot of the EA Battlefront 2 before I got in. So the first got into COVID before I found the Legion at the end of the COVID quarantine. I played a lot of the Battlefront 2 from EA. And what I loved about it was the fact that they actually had the 3 different eras. You could choose to play in the prequel era and they had maps, and you could choose to play in the original era and they had maps, and then you could choose to play in the sequel era and they had maps for all 3 of those eras, which is why I'm wondering because like right there, and then you have the squadrons, which is what I feel is almost like an offshoot sequel spin-off of that Battlefront 2 game turned into squadrons because you had the flying aspect of it. So I'm just curious, what are they going to put into it that's going to make me want to buy it if it's not another story? Because I know one of the good things about Battlefront 2 was the Iden Versio storyline,
right?
That they then incorporated into Operation Cinder into Mandalorian. So
it's been months since they said that the support for Battlefront 2 was over. Right. So there'd be no more updates, no more new maps. So to me, that says they're working on a third game already.
And they're also working on a Fallen Order too, right?
Yes.
You guys are gonna be
And-
loaded up and have to tell me all about it.
And that open world would be amazing because I'm a huge fan of like the Breath of Wild, Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, there's a
And-
good one.
And then another one is Batman Arkham City, the Batman Arkham City game from several years ago. We're talking probably like 6-8 years ago now. But that game was fantastic as an open world game. Yes, it's Batman, whatever, but as open world, which just means, Joe, it means that there's no set order to what you need to do. You can go do whatever. There are objectives and there are things to do, but you could run around the building, talk to this person, and they'll send you on a quest. But it doesn't have to be in the order of, you choose the order of the quests that you do.
Yeah,
But
and
there
the
is
side quests are
Right.
almost limitless.
Right. And you choose the side quest too. Like, so it could be one of those things where like there is a pattern that you should follow that the developers have made, but like you've gone and done this side quest and the guy's like, hey, I need to find 2 stones. And you're like, oh, these 2 stones, because you've already done the side quest. So you just kind of, you move faster through the main quest. It's just, you can experience and run around the world and do whatever you need to do. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I offer either Massengill's 75-inch screen TV or my 75-inch screen TV to have you guys play them right there, and I'll watch and I'll take it all in. But my hand-eye coordination and trying to grasp all that stuff, unless I can just do a trigger like a gun and shoot, I'm probably out of it. So
if it's anything like the Zelda one, Zelda doesn't have a lot of that hand-eye coordination stuff. It's not a lot of button mashing and stuff like that. There are some timing and some tricks and there is some fighting, but like I really, really enjoyed the Zelda. So if they could make something in that realm, I would be in love if it was Star Wars related and in that realm of open world like that.
okay. Well, before we go on to Force Forward number 2, I think Brent, you know, we had talked about Legions earlier and all these games coming up. We definitely need to start scheduling another Legions night where we all get together to do that. But then 2, as these games come out, probably have to have some viewing parties and game parties. So Alfie, were you going to say something real quick?
No.
Okay,
No,
sorry. So good news on all that. I'm glad you guys bring that to the table. Force 4 number 2. I was reading something earlier and it said that there are plans to bring or to remake and reboot The Wizard of Oz. Now, The Wizard of Oz, and they're going to do it basically how it was. It's just the new revamped way to make it look better and make it more advanced and all that kind of stuff, which got me thinking, with us turning to our mid to late 40s, and with Star Wars fans of the original generation probably out of the picture in 20 to 30 years, do you see the possibility of them ever remaking completely the original trilogy? Thoughts, anybody around the board?
No.
Never remake from Alfie.
No.
Okay. Mass.
I can see that. I mean, they remake everything now. I mean, they're god awful. I mean, Conan the Barbarian, the remake is awful. Total Recall, the remake is awful. I mean, I can't think one that they made that was better than the original one, but I could see it happening. Yeah.
I
Yes,
can
that's-
see it
that's a-
happening, but I can't see anybody actually wanting to work on that.
Well, what I was looking at is this. Let's say they say in 30 years, goodness gracious, I'd be 79 years old, but in 30 years, are people that age really going to cause that much of a fuss about it? And do they want to reinvigorate and re-energize a whole new group? Because we always talk about entry points with Star Wars, right? So people who came in during the prequels or during Clone Wars or during the sequels or now during Mandalorian, are they really, the original trilogy maybe not be their Star Wars? So a revamped new version, does that make sense? I hope I don't have to ever see it. I hope they make it like the year after I die. But I do see Disney saying, we own this. We're going to get as much as we can out of this. And then if we decide to remake the original trilogy, we can make stories and movies in between there with those current actors that are that age that mix well with that. So I don't know. Brent?
So a coworker of mine has a friend. So right, it's a game of telephone a little bit, but this person had never watched any of the movies before, and because of Disney Plus and because of the lull of everything going on, decided to sit down and watch them as close to chronological order-ish as that person understood. So started with Phantom Menace, went through, did the Solo story, and then did Rogue One, and on through. And her, as she was going through and updating the posts on social media, which the friend was following, the original trilogy to her, she's like, or the way that she came up at the end is like, I might have missed the boat because I came into this late, but the prequel trilogy was so. The original trilogy was take it or leave it. But she really dug the sequel trilogy because I don't know if she got into it a little bit more. One of the things that drew her in was the fact that Kylo Ren was attractive. And so she really dug in and focused in on the sequel trilogy as the one that really stood out to that individual. So the reason why I'm bringing that story up is because as you're talking, it makes me think about, yes, I do see one, money. Everyone's going to want money. And two, for the generation that didn't grow up with the 77, I can see them doing some kind of remake, just like I didn't grow up with the original Wizard of Oz. I've watched it, but I could see them redoing the original Wizard of Oz with newer people and an updated technology and trying to find gadgetry and wizardry to win me over to this new crowd because it is so far in the past. So
Nope,
yeah.
I got it. Okay. Matt, were you just agreeing or did you have something?
Yeah, I just had a vision. In 30 years, they're going to redo it. Justin Bieber's going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh,
And and everybody's going to love it,
It's hard for me. So I'll say this, as a Star Wars fan from 77 and somebody who's been diehard for it ever since, when Revenge of the Sith happened, I almost felt completion in me that I saw the fall of Darth Vader and then the redemption of Darth Vader and that storyline being done, right? Like I thought to myself, it'd be great to have little side stories here or there in the future, but I don't need the overall myth and mythology of Star Wars changing and going on. I thought now I can, when I'm older, I won't say, oh, I missed this or I missed that. But now I think to myself, man, they're going to be making Star Wars well after I'm gone. I'm never going to see the beginning, the end, and everything in the middle. There's no completionism. It's going to keep going until they stop making streaming services or movies or what have you. So I have a feeling it will happen. I personally was hoping that if they do this in the near future, they would do it in an animated version because they could really do all the bells and whistles, use some great voice actors, or take the same voices from the movies like they're doing in those little YouTube kids videos, use the same voices, but just ramp it up to new special effects and graphics. But I have a feeling if I had to vote on this, I would say 25 to 30 years from now, they're going to say, hey, everybody, see Star Wars reimagined and come to the theater if they're still doing theaters and spend a lot of money. So
I
that's
hope
my
I'm
thought.
dead by then. I don't want to see a remake of Star Wars. I don't want to
either.
see a remake of The Godfather.
Oh,
Does anyone not have any original ideas anymore?
No.
I do.
It's just terrible because all the remakes are just so bad.
Those Disney remakes that they've made where they took Aladdin and made it into a live action, and they took other movies and made it Lion King and tried to make it into that. I did not care for those one bit whatsoever. Give me the cartoon animated versions. I thought they were much better than the new updated version, but I don't know.
I was okay with them. But see that again. So the visual media, if anything that I can do to entertain myself, to suspend reality for an hour and a half, 2 hours, I'm all for. So I dive into that visual medium, and if I can see it, I thought Mulan, maybe not the greatest story. It was a completely different story than the cartoon. Completely different story. But the Mulan movie was gorgeously filmed.
That's one I haven't seen yet.
cinematography and the pictures and the photography, it was a gorgeously filmed movie. Story, I mean, I probably, because I grew up with the cartoon, or partial to the cartoon. But again, the generation that didn't grow up with the cartoon isn't going to have the same attachment to that cartoon, right? And so yes, we've had the attachments to it. Like, the only one I haven't seen was Lady and the Tramp, but Aladdin, I couldn't get with the Will Smith. I needed my Robin Williams genie. The Will Smith genie was a little rough, but again, I can do that because I like that. I like to go to movies of any kind and get put into and immerse myself in those worlds. So I have no problem with them.
Go ahead, Mass.
So I have a question, because I have seen The Phantom Menace twice, because I didn't enjoy it, so I never watched it again until I did for the show.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watched it on Disney Plus, I don't think, like, one of the things that bugged me about The Phantom Menace was Jar Jar and his tongue shooting out and Qui-Gon catching it, at the dinner table. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that was that in the Disney Plus thing? I don't remember that. I think they cut it out.
It was there. It was in there.
Was it?
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
Okay.
I watch all of them religiously since I have Disney Plus. Like,
Jedi reflexes, Mass.
Yeah. That was so stupid.
But one of the things they did do with the Phantom Menace, they did update the 4K. They did update the quality. So the Phantom Menace's quality in the filming and the scenery again is a lot better than I remembered it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys going over that. It's not something I look forward to, but I think it's in our future, long down the road, but in our future. Force 4 number 3. We saw on Twitter over the last day and a half, my son Joey got a Millennium Falcon tattoo on his forearm. Alfie has a Boba Fett, the Mandalorian logo, correct? On your forearm. So we know you have a Star Wars tattoo. We know Joey has a Star Wars tattoo. Would any of you, I know you already have one, Alfie, but would you get another one? Would Mass and Brent, would you get one? And if you could, which one would you get? You already know mine. I want the Rebel logo from Rey and Luke's X-Wing helmet. And I want Captain Rex's eyes from his helmet on me as well. Those are my two that I want. Alfie, would you get another one? What would it be? Mass and Brent, if you could get one, or would you? And then if you could, what would you get? Go ahead, Brent.
Joe, I just want to know, where would you put those two? So where would you slap the Rebel logo, and where would you slap Rex's eyes?
Rebel logo is going right here on my shoulder, going right on my right shoulder.
So for the listeners at home, that is his right shoulder. So okay.
On my left shoulder, I have the cross with the Italian flag. And then right here at the base of my neck, between my shoulder blades, I would do the Rex logo.
The Rex eyes on his helmet. Okay.
Yep. That's where I would go. And my wife told me this evening that she doesn't want to know about it. She doesn't want to see it. And that if I get it, I better not tell her. And just, I pretty much then couldn't take my shirt off anytime around her. So
I was going to say, there's no.
So it's worth it.
Well, I mean, Alfie, what would you get your second one, and where would it go?
My second one would be the Mudhorn signet. It'd go on my other forearm.
Very nice.
And I'd go tomorrow.
So for those that haven't seen this is a pretty decent sized tattoo. Like, it is, I want to say it's probably 80% of your forearm.
Well, show it again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably 80% or so of the forearm. Would the Mudhorn be about the same size?
I'd probably go in half, because the other one I would want to get is the Phoenix logo
from Rebels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of the Rebel Alliance symbol with the Phoenix at the end. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Mass, I'm going to go to you next, because do you have any tattoos right now, presently?
I don't have any tattoos. I never really wanted one, but I guess if I got one, I would get Jar Jar Binks tattooed on my ass.
Ah.
So,
wow.
So that every time I had to go, it would just look like it
Oh.
would come out of Jar Jar's mouth.
Okay.
That's what.
Well, there's a visual.
You're welcome.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
Ahmad Best. I'm sorry if you're listening, Ahmad Best. I'm sorry.
We do like you, Ahmad. I mean, we do. It's just Mass has a problem with that character.
I do.
Okay, so no Han Solo's pistol, no Millennium Falcon, no Luke's lightsaber, nothing like that.
No,
Okay.
not really. Yeah, never really wanted one. Don't know why.
Okay. To each his own, my friend. To each his own.
Mhm.
Brent.
So I mean, I have a couple tattoos. I was young and dumb, and I was 18, and a video game came out called Final Fantasy. I think it was 8 on the PlayStation. The original one on the PlayStation was it 8 or 7, one of the two. And it had Cloud. It had Cloud. Yeah. So there was a guy on that called Red 5. It was a wolf, and he did a move called the Howling Moon. And so I wanted to have a wolf howling in the moon. It was like basically the arching back. So that's on one shoulder. It's not exactly the same way. The artist just had a wolf like in the woods with howling at a moon. I like it better the way the guy did it. But I was young and dumb. So on the other shoulder, I have one. Long story that I won't go fully into, but my son was in the hospital for a long time, and a unicorn became a symbol. And so I have a mermaid to symbolize my daughter and a unicorn in a yin yang pattern. And then my son has a rare genetic disease, and this is the month for rare genetic diseases since it's a weird month of February. And the colors are all like bright colors. So the unicorn is the bright color. The colors of the unicorn and the mermaid are both those bright colors, but they're in a yin yang pattern on my shoulder.
I like it.
And so if I would go Star Wars, so there is an order token for my Legion game, and I had a friend of mine kind of help come up with. So the yin yang is kind of my way, but there are 4 different factions that play in the game, right? So you have the Rebels, you have the Imperials, and then you have the clones, and you have the droids. And so we came up with this like 4 patterned yin yang pattern. So it's a way to show that I'm cool with all of them.
I like it.
So it's a factionless order token, so I can use it with whatever team that I play with. But that logo, I wasn't sure how it would come out, but when he 3D printed those things, I think they look fantastic. So that if I would do that, that would probably be a tattoo that I would get, is something that looks like that.
Okay. I like it. That's a good, diverse bit of tattoos right there. And you know, now we all know who has and who doesn't have tattoos and all that kind of stuff. Joey, like I said, has an entire arm full of tattoos right now. So, but that's his thing. Force for number 4, with Valentine's Day coming up this weekend. Hopefully you're all doing something nice for your significant others. Mass, especially you, for getting that TV already. You got to take care of Kelly. I was looking at relationships in Star Wars, and I think I sent you guys over like 20 some odd couples in Star Wars. And there were a lot that were in the books and the legends, and then there were a bunch that were in the movies and things like that. Are there any relationships, when you think of Star Wars, relationships that stand out to you in honor of Valentine's Day? Do you think cool? They're you know, like, oh, this is a cool couple or anything like that? Thoughts on relationships in Star Wars and some of the coolest couples, whether it's movies, animated, books, legends, canon. Mass.
The 2 that come out to me are Han and Leia.
Yep.
And, you know, I think everybody that's seen the movies that would come to them. But the other one is Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker. Because I am still waiting for that character, Mara Jade, to come forth at some point on Disney Plus, because she is a badass. She is one of the greatest characters that we haven't seen yet. And I always thought her and Luke were just a fantastic couple together.
Okay.
And the extended universe. They're married, they have kids, and it was just it was one of the best couples in the whole series. I always thought.
Okay, I agree. I like both those. Both of those were in my top, 5 or 6 or whatever. So 100% agree on those two. Alfie, how about you and Star Wars couples and relationships?
I agree with Mass. Han and Leia is number 1. The number 2, I really liked Hera and Kanan. I thought that was a really well done job in Rebels as far as displaying them as a couple, but not always being so serious.
Right.
But that ending, though,
Oof.
yeah, that was a tough one.
It was for an animated series, right?
Yeah.
Like it really hits you.
When Chopper held her hand in that cave afterwards.
Wait, Mass, have you not gotten to the last seasons yet? Have you?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Alfie.
Yeah, but anyway,
Earmuffs.
just that little scene. You don't know what happened, but still.
Yeah. I think it's very well done. Some of the best Star Wars out there is that couple right there, and done in an animated fashion. So, Brent, how about you when it comes to couples you think about or relationships you think about in Star Wars?
Okay, so I think if you don't go to the Han and Leia one first, then you didn't watch the original trilogies at all. So I would say, like, if you say couples of Star Wars, I think that would be the one. However, I just looked at your list, and one is making me laugh a lot, and that is Lando and L3. And like, because that's just so awkward, and he really did love L3, and it was a really weird, awkward Lando L3 moment, or L5. Is L3 or L5?
L3.
Yeah, so that one just like so when I read through the list, it just jumped out at me, and I'm laughing like hardcore. The other one that I will say was like a good one that I got introduced to recently, and that's only because of the book club, the Lothal Library. So if you listeners haven't heard of the Lothal Library, Nick Shesky and Joe reviewed Lost Stars, which Lost Stars has Thane Kyrell and Jello Cannon. They're from Jello Cannon. That's
Sienna Ree.
Sienna Ree. Like that story, I know it was meant for maybe more of a preteen teen audience, but I really liked how they developed that story, how they became good friends and lovers, and then how they both started to see the world in a different way because of their experiences. I really just enjoyed that whole arc from that book. So I wouldn't have, if you would have asked me this a long time ago, I probably would have gone with Han and Leia and like Han and Chewie, basically, right? Like those would have been the two couples that I could have thought of, but like right now, that's like that one sticks out in my head. So
well, I loved all your things there, and all of those rank very high for me as well. I will throw in, these are not my tops, but just to finish out like my top 10, I would throw in there Obi-Wan and Satine, Duchess Satine, because my love for Obi-Wan.
I knew it was gonna be there.
and Duchess Satine, until Hasbro gets up off their behinds and makes that character for her, they're making a mistake there. They're making Bo-Katan, they can make Duchess Satine. For Mass, Corran Horn and Mirax Tarek, right? Mirax from iJedi and some of the expanded universe books. That couple, they were in a number of books together. Just a solid couple in the expanded universe, and really went into depth on them, their kids, their family, expanded family, everything like that. I love those. And then of course, you guys hit on Hera and Kanan. Two things. One, I don't think you can talk about any of this until you talk about Anakin and Padme. It might have been quirky and weird on the screen, but without those two getting together, none of this really happens, because the twins and all that kind of jazz. And plus Natalie Portman, you could partner her up with pretty much anybody, and I'm okay with that. And last but not least, Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss from Dark Disciple, another book couple, but Yeah, some of my favorites. I'm gonna write a blog here before this weekend, before Valentine's, and I'm gonna do the top 20. I'm gonna put a top 20 together of couples from books, from comics, from different things. So if you think of anything else to go along with our list, let me know. But yeah, happy Valentine's, everybody, and make sure you do something for your significant other for this weekend. Go ahead, Brent.
I think your son would be mad if we didn't say anything about the Raylo. Um, I mean, there is, and he's not the only one that
I
was a
agree.
huge Raylo. There was a huge population of Raylo lovers and got all in a tizzy after the end of this movie that we're going to talk about here coming up in a few minutes.
You are correct. You are correct.
So-
Even my daughter Emily, who doesn't watch these movies very much, as we shift over to the Rise of Skywalker, at the end of this movie, she saw somebody kiss, put two arms in the air, and said yes. And then you know what happened, and she was very angry the whole way home. So, let's throw this out here. This is the end of the Skywalker saga. Disney laying down the gauntlet and saying we're done telling movie stories about the Skywalkers. The Rise of Skywalker came out in December of 2019, right? Right before COVID kicked in. Man, if it would have waited till May of 2020, that would have been a problem. But just initial thoughts, things that stand out to you that you like, things that stand out to you don't like. Let's just jump right in. It's fair game. There were things that I did like and things that I didn't like of this movie, but overall, pretty action-packed, fun movie. Any thoughts? Who wants to jump in with some quick ideas or thoughts? Or are you going to make me do it? Go ahead, Brent.
So if we're just going to go general impressions, I'll start with one of the things that I thought was really cool. One of the things I like about a lot of the Star Wars is when they introduce something new. I was a huge fan of light speed skipping. Never seen it before. And I love the fact, like, why couldn't you just light speed skip? Now, granted, you probably would have crashed at some point because you have no idea where you're stopping. And, like, I think you have to have Jedi like reflexes to fly a podcast. So you should probably be a Jedi to light speed skip. But I like the idea that they were jumping in and out of different environments. And I just like that. I thought it was a cool little twist to the high speed chase.
And I'll go in the other direction on that. I was a little weirded out by the hyperspace skipping, because I always thought hyperspace lanes set you up to where you ended up in open areas away from planets, and the next thing you know, we see these guys coming in and out of planets, and like you said, there could have been a tree, a building, a statue right where they were jumping into. So it weirded me out. Not to say that I was 100% against it, but it did weird me out when it first happened. I was like, what are we doing here? So, 9, 10, 11 movies in, and this is the first time we're seeing hyperspace skipping. So not against it. It was just kind of odd for me, Brent. But I like that you liked it. Alfie, Mass, anything that initially stood out? Go ahead, Alfie.
Okay, just like you were saying about the light speed skipping, I'm just going to start this off by saying that I loved this movie. I did when I saw it, but I really despise this movie. It
I mean, we're laughing, but Alfie, I feel like I feel that's the exact. There are a lot of people that are that same.
Is so good in the fact that it tries to correct from The Last Jedi. It tries to hit all the beats of a Star Wars movie. It brings back the entire cast of the original trilogy. And then it's so fast paced that it says, please just shut your mind off and don't think of anything specific. Don't try to let any of this make sense. So when you're done, you're like, well, was it good or wasn't it good? I mean, I feel good because of the music and the fanfare, and we saw Han and Leia and Lando and the Emperor and
Luke.
And Luke, and it feels like a really empty movie because it's so illogical. And it defies what you've already set up in the previous 8 movies of, Star Wars law or whatever, which I know you can make up whatever you want. It's just a movie.
Yeah.
But still, just like that, in the first half of A New Hope, Han Solo said, you have to wait for the nav computer to make the calculations. You can't just jump to light speed. You'll bounce too close to a supernova and that'd end your trip real fast.
Nicely done.
That is really well done, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would tend to agree on the, I really like this movie. I mean, like leaving this movie, I walked out going, I really like that. But then I was like, but did I really like that? But I mean, it was very, it was just, it was like it did, like you said, try to bridge so much from The Force Awakens right over to The Rise of Skywalker and make you forget that middle. But at the same time, it added certain things in where you're like, well, whoa, wait a minute, where's this coming from? So, but I will say this, I like this movie. I do.
I like this
it.
movie too.
Yeah,
I like
Mass.
I've come to the point where I'm gonna stop saying that I hate movies. I don't really hate any of these movies. I hate stuff that happens in these movies. But you know, I really can't say that I liked it, just for the fact that I thought bringing Palpatine back was just such a weak move for me. I did not dig that at all, man. I do not like them bringing characters back that are dead. You know, we've had this Darth Maul thing over and over again that I don't like. Let them go, man. Let the characters go. They died for a reason.
Or if you're going to bring them back and basically rip off the storyline from a previous
Comics and books.
Comics, books, or whatever, why don't you just do that story?
Right.
Instead of ripping off Dark Empire, just make a Dark Empire movie.
Right. I agree.
So, I thought it was lazy storytelling. So I don't know anything about the Dark Empire. So again, this is where my ignorance comes in. And 5 minutes into the movie, I was like, really? He's back? You had to do that? And I know
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And it seemed like lazy storytelling. So like what you're saying is true. I do enjoy it, but it did take a lot away from me that they brought Palpatine back. I like what they did with Palpatine, but I would rather have had someone else. Like,
because Palpatine's great. I mean, if I knew that guy, I would talk to him on the phone all day long and just ask him, just say it in the Palpatine voice.
Hey, real quick, I want to hop in. I know we're recording, but we'll do some real-time, real-life action news. Just got a text from Joey. Gina Carano officially fired from all Star Wars things. That just came across.
No.
I asked him how he knew, because he does direct message with her. And I said, did you get this directly from her? He said, no, it came across on the news. She's officially out with Disney and Star Wars. So interesting. I'm glad, I guess I've got the 6-inch and the 3 3/4-inch figure, because maybe they'll become a collectible now that she's been fired from the show. Anyway, I was just Alfie, you can look and dig on that. Going back to the Emperor things, you're right. I liked the way, once it was going, how they did it. I liked at the very beginning where he said, I made Snoke. I have been every voice in your head, every voice you have heard in your head. And he did it throughout the different voices, Vader's, Snoke's, his. I thought that was well done. And I thought it was good to rip the Band-Aid off. Instead of waiting till the end of the movie to show Palpatine, just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off at the very beginning and say, screw it, this is the direction we're going. But you're either on or you can hop off now. But I thought it was better they did it that way. And then, of course, he says, kill the girl. And Kylo says, who is she? So we're still trying to figure out who Rey is at that point in the third movie. So that was just how I liked it there. Does anybody know who the hell Claude is? The guy in the Falcon at the beginning? Where did that come from? Huh?
Yeah, I don't know. And how does he work on anything?
I didn't see any appendages, just a big blob kind of thing. Anyway, Brent, you were going to say something.
I was just confused on how Kyla knew how to get to Exegol and where Exegol was. So this is also my ignorance to the extended universe. That little wayfinder, where did that come from? So when I was watching it, I was like, what? They explain it later when they have to go search for the second one. There was only 2 that were made. Come on now. But like, let's be honest, it's the world. There are probably 15 to 20 of them, but there was only 2 of them that they knew of. And anyways, I was just confused with that because I would have liked to have had a little bit more information on what that was, where he was going. I mean, obviously he was trying to wreak havoc to find it, and what exactly it was doing. Why was he looking for it? Was he given some instruction?
It came across when the Emperor made that announcement and he heard that the Emperor was coming back, right? That he went to look for it and he went to look for it on Mustafar. Is that right, Alfie?
Yeah. I just like that there's only 2 of them, but somehow he has the Wayfinder adapter kit with him, so he can hook it right up into a ship.
It was an aux cord. Everybody has the same aux cord. Yeah. I did like that. Look, out of the Last Jedi and the dyad thing where they could communicate, I liked from the very beginning. Kylo puts his hand on the Vader helmet. He's thinking about her. He's messing with her while she's out with Rey, while she's out on the trail, and kind of trips her up and things like that. Gets in her head still. I thought that was still cool that was still going on and expanding. On that. But I really liked. I don't know. I'll stop because I want to know, what did you guys think about the Leia scenes? Obviously, they were scenes from basically Force Awakens, correct? That weren't used,
right?
That were put in here. Did you feel like they were believable? Did you like those scenes? Did they work okay for you when she was talking to Rey or the other characters in there? Anybody?
It was okay.
Nobody liked them.
I don't think anybody really liked them.
Did they work?
They were okay.
They were believable.
They were believable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
they
what I
were
wanted to know.
They were more believable than her flying through space. I mean, yeah.
Bingo.
Okay. I liked how Rey used "Be With Me" when she was trying to reach out to the other Jedi at the beginning of the movie, and then used it at the end of the movie. I thought that was well placed and good. Star Wars, like I said, always has symmetry, mirrors, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead, Brent.
Just rewatching this, there was a ton of those little nuggets that they said at the beginning of the movie that they then repeated in the middle of the movie. Poe did one once they found the I can't remember when he was talking to him for the first time after they found the message from the guy who got his head cut off from the spy.
Julio.
Yep. So he was talking to everybody. So there was a message. Somebody said something to him, and then he repeated it in that meeting. There was another one where Zori Bliss said something to Poe, and Poe then repeated it later on when they were going to go fly out into the world. Like there were multiple.
Leia said, "Never underestimate a droid," and then Rey used it again later on.
I feel like there were like 6 or 8 of those little quotes that were then re-quoted in the movie. So I don't know if they were looking for dialogue or they were trying to amp up the amount of re-quoting within the movie, but they did it 5 or 6 times noticeably after watching it a few times.
So I really like that we finally, in the 3rd movie of the trilogy, I really felt like we finally got to the point where we had the big 3 together on an adventure, really interacting between all 3 of them. Like there were little secrets between Rey and Finn. There were little secrets between Poe and Finn or Rey or whoever. The banter was good. It was all brought together well. I think it would have been better if we would have seen more of that previously in either Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. But at least we finally got to that point to where it was good to see them all working together. And I also thought it was very interesting when the spy got him that information that Palpatine had returned, and the guy from Lord of the Rings and everything else, I forget his name. He said it's Sith science, dark magic that brought Palpatine back to life. Do you remember that when they first got the information? So
Yes.
Already we're going down, kind of trying to explain how Palpatine comes back, Sith science and dark magic. The other thing that really is not sat well with me in the sequel trilogy was there were a lot of timing things. I think in Last Jedi, didn't they have like 8 hours before they were going to run out of fuel, or
Right.
6 hours? So
But
they
Ray was on the island for 3 days. Yeah.
so we had to okay, set your watch, 6 hours, go, right? And Star Wars is, I don't think it's about 6 hours or 8 hours, but then in this movie it was, well, we have 16 hours before they're going to start destroying planets. Again, we're like on a clock here. I mean, it's so regimented. I'd rather just keep that hour thing. Well, okay, we're going to run out of gas when we run out of gas. End of story. We'll try to get back before the end of The Last Jedi. We're going to try to get to them before they start sending out these world destroying planets, not 16 hours or whatever. I just thought it was like earthly brought into it, if that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah, but
go to like 20 different planets in 16 hours.
But in the EU, all the books that I've read, they talk about what is it, standard days and standard. So they use time, and they talk about time all the time in the books. Now, I can't remember what they are, but rotations. There you go. They talk about they talk about the number of rotations, and you have 14 rotations before we will be back. So they talk, like, they use different terminology than the hours, but it was just to create urgency, to like a false sense of urgency. I like, that's the way that I look at it. It was to try to make the viewer feel that there is this urgent and this pressing need. I've never been a huge timeline guy within the entire world. I've never really followed timelines. I do think, though, because you had the big three getting together, one of the things with the timeline is this movie was set at least a year or two, it feels like, post Last Jedi. It feels like there is time that, like, one of the big comments that I've heard from a lot of people is the first two movies almost feel like they should be one movie, and then the second this one should have been the second movie of it, because of the time that it took to develop those friendships and those relationships. If you go back to A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, the time in between each one of those, and if you go back to the original trilogy, there was about 10 years between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. So there is a time gap that allows there's this assumed time gap that allows those relationships to develop, that I think took place and helped this movie and helped to have those banters, because you can mentally just say, okay, they've had more time together, they've had these adventures that we don't know about, but there is more time where they've known each other. Like when Poe comes back and yells at her, he's like, we don't need you training, we need you to help us out there.
Right.
Like, you feel that he really, like, that he truly does feel that, where at the same time she's like, no, I need to train so I can be ready to help you out there. So you can see that they've had that argument before, in my mind.
It's good. Headcanon. We like that. So another line that was brought back twice, never be afraid of who you are, by Leia. And then later on, Luke mentions about, what are you afraid of? And she said, I'm afraid of who I am, or who I. So it was like the reverse, but it was the same kind of line. What did you guys think about Kylo's new helmet? Red lines? Anything? The Knights of Ren return? Do anything for you? I mean, I still haven't got a chance to see those guys be real badass yet. So
that's what I was hoping for.
Me too.
I like the red helmet. I like how in this movie he is just so like calm and dominating over Rey, where she's always angry and out of control fighting him, and he just kind of steps out of the way of all of her swings. And again, like you said, they still have that dyad going back and forth to where they're taunting each other. Especially when they talk about getting out of each other's heads.
Right.
But yeah, I would have liked to seen the Knights of Ren do something other than just stand on a cliff.
Yep. Can
somebody tell me the lore of the Knights of Ren again? So again, I believe this is probably from a comic or from somewhere. Can somebody help me out with what are they supposed to be? Because I knew he was Kylo Ren, but I didn't know what the Ren signified. I'm just learning what Darth signified when I read Darth Bane, what the actual Darth was, why it's significant. So what is the Ren, the clan, like that clan and all that stuff? Help me out.
It was from the comic. It was from the Kylo Ren comics, correct, Alfie? That happened after Jedi and before Force Awakens.
Yeah.
it was a band of people that were, the leader was force sensitive, correct? Wasn't Ren himself?
I it's one of those things. I just didn't really understand it too
Yeah.
well. Luke and the
Lor Santeca.
Force Church guy.
Yep.
And Ben meet up with them somewhere, and
it's an odd thing, and Kylo goes to them after he defects from Luke's academy. He goes back to them basically.
Yeah, it's not the students that left with Kylo Ren, correct?
No. They were already a group, and he took over for the leader of the Ren. Ren was the leader, I believe, and that's where it became Kylo Ren, the Knights of Ren. So yeah, I don't have a lot on it except that comic, and honestly, I breezed through it because I was like, okay. I mean, it didn't tell me a ton, so I didn't really jump into it. What did you think about the way they expanded on the dyad to where one, he could take Rey's necklace off of her through the dyad, and then two, when they were fighting, she could cut the berries out of the jar next to him, and they could cut and see where Vader's helmet fell and all that. Did you like that addition into the dyad? Was that a positive or a negative for you guys? Anybody?
Visually, it looked really cool.
I agree.
And yeah, it kind of cemented the story of those two just having that connection.
Yeah, I just saw it as a plot device to be able to try to show connection and try to move the story along. It was hokey as all hell. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with that. Mass gave me a thumbs up on that one. I can't get into that. It's interesting. It's cool. I like the conversations that they had. I really like the ones that they had in The Last Jedi. I do like the ones that they have here because there is like a lot of head games being played. There is a lot of manipulation on both sides. Well, actually on Kylo trying to manipulate her, I feel. But I just thought it just and then when they added in at the end, again, it's cool. But that was just like so they could pass the lightsaber back and forth between it now.
It was a great scene.
Again, it's cool. It's just
don't think about it.
Yeah.
Right. It's too much. Like that's too much, I guess. That's when you start getting into the realm of the Force that I'm not necessarily the most agreeable to.
So a couple things that stood out to me. One, it was good to see Lando back. That was nice. I thought it was sentimental and good to see, and to have him tell a little story about he and Luke looking for the Wayfinder. I thought a couple things. C-3PO, this was his best movie of the 9. Would you agree? No?
Brent does not agree.
I thought his lines in this movie were fantastic. His little one-liners everywhere were great.
Man, like, so
he joked after every time they said something, he'd be like, "I'm okay, by the way." I mean, he had something in every scene.
He was so morose. He was so not the C-3PO that I grew up with. He was so like the tenor of what he was saying was so morbid and just impending doom. And okay, I did not like. I was going to bring that up. I was actually not a fan. I was not a fan of the C-3PO of this movie because it seemed like he was the only one that saw this as a coming to an end and a culmination before. And this may be after I've watched it 2 or 3 times. The initial watching, I don't know if this struck me, but after watching this thing all the time, he seems so depressed. He seems so like, even when he was like, I'm sorry, the calculations are 635 to 1 when they will survive. And he says that with like a little bit of a chipper, and then he's like, but I've been known to make mistakes from time to time. Like that even giving that bad news was done to me with a little bit of a happiness in his voice. Whereas I feel like there was no happiness in his voice when I was listening to his lines.
Well, I will say this. I've read the Anthony Daniels I Am C-3PO book. He was really not happy with much of the way he was being treated in the sequels. maybe it was coming through in his voice that he was portraying, because he and Mark Hamill and he and some of the other characters in the show, in the movies, were the ones who came up with some of his lines, because he was like, if I'm going out doing my thing, because he was, again, supposed to be, I believe, kind of a side, thing that didn't really get much play. And let's face it, out of everybody, he's been through it all from the beginning to the end. So, okay, that's good. See, this is the light speed skipping in the C-3PO. We could be on different sides. Guess what? I don't hate you, Brent. You're okay.
I'm thinking about it, Brent.
It's fine. It's fine. I just thought everything had such like a downturn in his voice that it wasn't like there was like a happiness or like an upturn when you hear him talk all the other movies. I don't know. I was not a fan.
It's okay. I really thought they finally started going to the Finn feeling the Jedi kind of things, or the Force kind of things. How many times did he like stop and pause and he would sense something or feel something? He was sensing something. JJ had set it up in 7. It got ditched in 8. JJ was like, nah, I'm still going to tap back into this for 9. I'm still going to bring this, even to the point where he's like, Ray, I never told you. And then they didn't finish. Right. I mean, so I thought it was good they went back to it. And again, if there's future things after the sequel trilogy, I'm hoping that's something that's brought into it. Any thoughts on Finn, maybe tapping into the Force or anything in this movie?
Yeah, I liked it too, but I thought it was a little too late. It needed to be done sooner. This movie really, and this is kind of JJ's calling card, I guess, as a director or writer, is the inability to close the box and say, we're finishing something, no more mysteries. And
Lost.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. So, like I said, it just felt, too little, too late. You should have done that in 8. He should have been stronger with it in 9 and set something up. I didn't need another mystery box at the end of this movie.
I like it. Go ahead,
Especially
Brent.
if they knew it was going to be the last one.
Right.
Need to tie us some stuff up, man. Give some answers.
I do like how they give the idea that other people could have Force powers. You just might not be as strong as a Jedi, but you could have Force sensitivity, because he starts talking to Homegirl, who was set up to be Lando's, kind of came across as it might be Lando's daughter, and then he's like, let's go find out. But right, but whoever he was working with, like her whole crew, he was like, yeah, it's the Force. Those feelings that you were having are the Force. And she's like, really? Like, I didn't know. And he was like, yeah, I'm learning it now, and I'm believing that the Force is real. Again, he may not have not have a Force as strong as everybody, but I started to feel like, and I still feel like, I believe the Force is with everybody. Everybody has the chance to experience the Force. Some just have a stronger power and a stronger passion with it.
The midichlorians are in all of us, Brent.
There you go.
It's just the levels. I mean,
Luke Skywalker said that in episode 8. Maybe he didn't, really pay attention to what he said.
But that's not the good Luke, right? Or is that Hermit Luke, or is that
Hermit Luke said that?
Green milk out
just
of boob
because
Luke.
the Jedi would no longer exist doesn't mean the Force would no longer exist.
So I thought the scene, they did it pretty well, but I don't think they finished it right, but I still am okay with it. The Force tug of war and the Force lightning that blows the ship out between Kylo and Rey that Chewie was in, or supposedly in. Okay, I didn't do any spoilers. I didn't want to know anything going into this, so I'm like, holy crap, they just killed Chewie. And not to say that I wanted that to happen, but I didn't want to know 2 minutes later that they didn't. I wanted to know like a half an hour later that they didn't, so I could sit on that and be like, I'm crushed that they just killed Chewie. It was, oh, they killed Chewie. Oh, no, they didn't. I mean, did anybody else feel that, or was it just me? I mean, I like the overall scene. I like setup, structure, everything, but that's where I went with it.
if you're gonna kill somebody, let them die. Mass, I'm with you. Like, again, so it was like, oh, Palp died. Oh, they did the same thing with Chewie. Like, let someone, like, I was ready to cry. I'm cool. Like, if you're gonna kill him, kill him.
Right.
That's where I mean, yeah.
Well, you know what? It's funny because they do kill off Han, they do kill off Leia, they do kill off Luke. Yes, he's a Force ghost.
Yoda.
But Chewie got a reprieve. He's going to be moving on, doing new things.
Before you change real
Yeah.
quick about the Force lightning, I was thinking about this today, rewatching this. So now that the end that she's good, can she still do the Force lightning?
It's a good question.
She knows how. I say yes.
Well, so okay, just because, like, okay, so I was a pitcher when I was in high school. I threw a split finger fastball one time. That doesn't mean that I knew how, because I
Keep
kept
trying,
trying.
dude.
I kept trying. I couldn't. I tried 1,000 other times.
You've
worked.
got it in
was
you, man.
it worked once, and I was like jumping for joy, and the catcher's like, "What the hell was that?" And because we both were not expecting it, but that doesn't mean that I know how to throw that pitch because I did it one time. So yeah, she's got to refine that. So she has this moment of high stress, which pulls out this ability, but that doesn't mean she can go tap back into that error. She has to find a way to tap back into that feeling of high stress to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't
mean she can't either.
Right?
No, not at all. I agree. I think she's like.
So I'm just saying, is this like a new like Jedi power?
She's
like
brought all the Sith
Jedi
power and all the
lightning?
Jedi power together, right? I mean,
She's
she
a
is the
great
keeper.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say yeah.
It's a good question. I think she can too. Did we like or dislike Babu Freak? I laughed at Babu Freak. I thought
he
he
was
brought
funny.
some enjoyment to the show. Yes? No?
I'm always a sucker for little Star Wars characters. They always make me laugh. Jawas, Ewoks, Porgs. They're funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alfie
likes
I
a
will
little-
say this. I loved the character of Zori Bliss just because of who played Zori
Oh.
Bliss. Dear gosh, Kerry Russell, thank you. Be in every Star Wars movie. And after watching The Americans, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
In that tight red jumpsuit too, please.
Yes,
In that tight red. Yep.
We'll do that. I like the conversation they had between her and Poe, but it was another one of those things where I read the book. There was books between her and Poe that explained things more because I was like, I gotta know. I mean, where did this all happen? You threw her in the 9th movie. Where did this all happen? What's the background? It explained it more in the book. So after reading the book, I'm like, oh, okay, I see where we're going, but I would have liked more. You could have put Zori Bliss in all 3 of these movies. I would have been perfectly happy. So that's my side on that.
Everyone's got a story, and I would love to know Zori Bliss's story. Like, I would also love to know Poe's background story because I believe that there's a little bit there. And I also,
it's in the books.
In this, you know my feeling on that. I'm going to the old school stuff. I'm not trying to go to this, like, read the book of a movie. I watched the movie. It should be in the movie. Now, I also enjoyed the interaction that they had in the celebration scene. That was awesome to me, where he looked at her and like gave her a little head nod, and he was like, and she was like, "No, I'm not gonna kiss you." And then he was like, gave a shoulder shrug. Like, that whole thing was like, to me, that was awesome. Like, that whole interaction got a huge chuckle from me.
I agree. We're at a point where we have what should have been in episode 8 comes out in episode 9. Hey, Rey, you're a Palpatine. You're the granddaughter of the Emperor. I'm the grandson of Darth Vader. We're a dyad. I wasn't shocked. Like, I went in completely unspoiled, but when it came out, like, it didn't go, what? I was just kind of like, all right, that's the story we're going with. Did it do anything for you guys at all? Was it good storytelling, bad storytelling? It is what it is. That's the story, and I'm okay with it now that the way it's finished and everything. But what were you guys' thoughts on the reveal?
I thought it was bad storytelling. I didn't think it was particularly good. So of all the ways that it could have gone, that would have been like number 99 on the list of where I thought it should have gone or was gonna go or something like that. I mean, I'm okay with it now, but just bringing the Palpatine back into it at all was. I think I liked her better when she was nobody. I really did.
And I see Brent pointing, and here's what I'll say on that. I'm fine with them just going with a story and staying in the same direction. If they would have said she's a nobody in 7, 8, leave it a nobody in 9. If they would have said she was somebody's child or grandchild in 7 or 8, leave it that way in 9. So I think the misdirections were the parts that I didn't care for. I'm fine with the way the story ended up because that's the way it is, but I would have rather it just been that way all the way through the trilogy. Go ahead, Alfie.
I agree with that 100%. If she's going to be a nobody, go with it. Stay that way. If Palpatine was really the person behind it all and that's where you were going to go with it, I feel like he should have been at the end of 8.
Yes.
Kind of, I don't know if, I always talk about, I had the idea that Rey should have been captured, whatever, whoever, whatever. 8 should have ended with the reveal of Palpatine being back, the mastermind behind it all. And real quick, going back, question I have about the Sith fleet. At the beginning, it comes out of the ice.
Yeah.
So were all the people inside the ships under the ice?
I have not
Like, how'd
received
they
an
get in there?
explanation on that. I don't know.
I thought the same thing, Alfie, when I rewatched it the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Thought the same thing.
I know, I think about it way too much, but I thought too, where did they get enough people to crew 11,000 Star Destroyers?
Well, supposedly, the entire planet of Exegol had become his acolytes, right? He had basically taken over, and as they said with the First Order, whatever, that whole planet, and I'm sure they robbed other planets of the outer regions, right? The unknown
but if
regions.
it was that hard to get to, where'd they get all of the resources to build 11,000 Star Destroyers?
Don't ask questions. Don't ask
thanks,
good
everybody.
questions.
That's the end of the show. That's the Rise of Skywalker. All right.
Don't ask good questions. Again, I'm going to go back to, they came from underneath the ice. So somebody underneath the ice was making them.
Oh, no.
But my guess is this little maelstrom that they had to go through, that they had to have
They're
the Wayfinder.
clones.
They had to get the Wayfinder to go through, right? They had to use that. There had to be other planets that were also blocked from that Wayfinder. So I'm guessing they robbed and plundered those.
Yeah, that'd be my guess too. But watching Kylo Ren navigate through all that stuff, how did the big ships do it? That made no sense to me whatsoever.
That's what we're just supposed to.
Just forget about it. Don't even ask any questions. Just keep going forward.
One thing that I'll point out is Ben/Kylo did great Han Solo movements. When General Pride came to him, he did the finger like Han does when you're on the Falcon. When he's running through Exegol and he turns and shoots without looking, like Han did in The Force Awakens. And then when he gets the lightsaber and does the bow like Han did on Return of the Jedi, I mean, you can tell that Adam Driver said, I am going to mimic Solo movements and Solo parts of Han Solo. And I thought, I noticed him. I was like, whoa, that's kind of like he hit him. He hit him on all notes right there. So that was just something that I noticed in it. The scene where we'll skip ahead a little bit, the scene where Kylo and Rey are fighting on the side of the Death Star in the ocean. I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought it was well done. I thought her flipping over the water while Kylo just says, I'm a badass. I'm going to walk right through this wave and come at you. I thought that was well done. I think, do you guys agree? He was beating her down and was going to destroy her until Leia said Ben, and he paused and everything changed right then and there. Did it feel that way to you guys?
100%.
Because that's when Rey caught the lightsaber, stabbed him. He was changed right then and there. When she reached out with every bit of her life force, she basically died by reaching out to him right there. But what did you guys think about all that scene and the Leia dying and Rey feeling it, Kylo feeling it, all that kind of stuff, and then leading into another surprise scene of Han and Ben just doing the exact opposite of the Force Awakens, or a similar conversation, just not the same ending. What were you guys' thoughts on all that part of the movie right there?
It was like the part in The Force Awakens, like when you saw it the first time, you thought it was going to go.
Correct.
And like I said before, yeah, I really liked that fight between Kylo Ren and Rey, where he just was in complete control of the fight. And it was almost shocking that in that moment where he puts his guard down, she grabs the saber and stabs him. You know, it was almost like a role reversal right there.
I agree.
I thought it was really well done. Brent, Mass.
I thought it was really well done too. What you can say about, like, J.J. Abrams lied to me at the beginning when he said he had read the script to the second one, and he wished he had directed it. It was such a great script. You're a liar. But all three of those movies, even though I didn't enjoy them all much, they were beautiful movies. They looked amazing. The cinematography was amazing. They did all have that in common, even though they were, back, the timing was off on all of them and everything, but they looked really, really good. They were all well-made movies that way.
Agreed. Brent?
So the one thing I think, the other symmetry that I didn't hear you guys mentioning was the symmetry of Force Awakens and her jumping through the remnants of the battleship to try to find the parts, and then her jumping through the remnants of the Death Star to try and get to the Wayfinder. There was a little bit of a symmetry in that aspect of her getting through that, and the other part that to support what Matt said, her sailing to the Death Star junkyard piece, I really liked the way that looked. I like the look of that yellow boat on that deep blue water as she was trying to climb up the waves. Like, I liked the way that it looked visually. I thought it was pretty stunning. Was it hokey? Sure, but like, I thought visually it looked really cool with her trying to get there, and it showed that she was willing to risk her life to try to get to where she needed to go.
The next scene that got me, and we're almost through here, guys, sorry to keep you late. When Chewie finds out that Leia's gone and he drops, and he starts throwing his arms around and wailing. I mean, just thinking back to The Empire Strikes Back, when Han looks at him and said, "The princess, she's your responsibility now. You got to take care of her. You got to protect her." Man, that hit me as hard as most of any real Star Wars scene that I could think of in a while. That hit hard, and you could feel like they did a great job of filming that scene and showing his just desperation when that happened. I thought that was fabulous. Did anybody else tear up a little bit? I'm sorry, I did. I can't.
Of
Go ahead,
course.
Mass.
I thought that was great, and they should have had that same thing in The Last Jedi, or no, The Force Awakens.
When Han got, yes,
Yes,
he should have had the same similar reaction.
Should have happened in 7,
or at least a rage moment, and then start shooting his bowcaster at everything in sight.
That did happen.
that's what happened.
No,
Okay, that's exactly what
I can't remember it right now.
but yeah, the Leia hugging Rey. That still bothers me a lot.
Yeah,
That should have been her and Chewie. That should have been the same kind of emotional thing that happened in that movie when they got together when Han died. Yeah.
Look, we'll zoom through this because again, it's a long show. I don't want to keep you guys. Ray going to Octu, seeing Luke catch the lightsaber, and then he turns around and says, and I've got it right here, a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect when he catches it instead of throwing it.
Says the saber tosser.
Yeah. And then when she asked him about coming there, he said, "Look, I was wrong." Wow. Turn of events from one movie to another. But then, as you guys know, one of my favorite scenes of all Star Wars, Yoda getting the X-Wing out of Dagobah Swamp, seeing Luke get that same music and pull that X-Wing up for Rey to use. Whoo, man. With the Chewie scene and that going on, I was pumped. I was like, this is, yeah.
Maybe those fools are pretty hardy machines there. How long has that thing been in the water and it still works?
But let's talk. A Force ghost can can manipulate the Force.
Don't think about it.
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay.
Just keep going, Brent.
Okay. Because I was pumped, but a Force ghost could use the Force.
Yeah, like why didn't they show up at the end to help out a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody did a fan cut of that, and that was so awesome. I saw it a while ago, and I think somebody else reshared it in our chat. The fan cut of that when she's like, when he said, "I'm all of the Sith," and she's like, "Well, I'm all of the Jedi," and they showed like Force ghosts behind her of all of like the major Force. That's awesome. That should have been in the movie.
Yeah.
We take off. She's going there to battle Palpatine, Kylo, now Ben, after the great scene with Han Solo, chases after her. Everybody else says we got to send out the last signal we possibly can, get anybody who can come. We send Lando and Chewie off in the Falcon to grab any kind of recruits that they can. I have not seen the last of the Marvel Universe movies, but they said it was like Endgame or Infinity War, whatever, with all those ships showing up. What just take us through. There was a ton in that last bit there, but take us through any thoughts you guys have on the battle, Rey and Kylo versus Palpatine, all that leading up to what we'll end with the kiss and the all that kind of stuff. Go ahead, Brent.
Riding the horses on the Star Destroyer was while I understand that it was a low-tech way of doing things, was still just a little bit weird.
Like, why didn't the Star Destroyer tilt on its side? They all fall to their death.
Well, I figured the repulsor engines would not let like that. That's insignificant amount of weight. Like, that's not a lot of weight going down.
No, I'm saying, why didn't they do it on purpose?
Oh, got you. Why didn't they just tilt to kick him off?
Yeah. I just like the whole new Empire super weapon that's been replaced with the fleet that still has one glaring weakness that somebody can blow up.
If we just knock down that one tower, that one.
You've had 16 hours in this movie to move the fleet off of the planet. No, we'll just stay right here in low orbit where we're totally exposed. It'll be fine.
Hey.
And
they're doing their best.
I like how I know they're doing their best, but they specifically say that the fleet can't have shields up in the atmosphere, so they're exposed. And they need the tower because there's so much, magnetism and all that stuff. They don't know up or down, but the galactic fleet or whatever, they're perfectly fine. They just fly right in and blow everything up.
One was made by Ford, one was made by Chevrolet.
Right.
That was it.
Those rules didn't apply to the other ships.
That's right. That's right.
Just the Sith fleet.
I love that. I did love that Ben showed up as Ben Solo, not Kylo Ren. I loved when he jumped onto the big chain, hit it, and goes, "Ow!" That was fabulous.
His last line of the movie.
Then as he runs through, I think it was just great. Him showing up, getting the lightsaber from her behind his back in the dyad. I know it was kind of corny, and like you said, a quick thing, but they've been setting it up for 2 movies, and they finally got to use it the right way. It was interesting to see the Emperor be able to pull the life force from those two and start to rejuvenate himself. He's like, screw that plan of giving you my body. I'm coming back. I'm taking it over, right? Because now I can just take all that from you. And Ryan, one of your favorite scenes is the Emperor throws Ben down a pit, and Ben shows up later. Go ahead,
Right.
Alfie.
One thing I really liked about this scene, like you said, but he comes back as Ben Solo, not Kylo Ren. And when he gets the lightsaber, his fighting style completely changes. He fights like Luke and Leia did in that little flashback
Nice.
with the
Really?
twirling wrist and the spins, where when he was Kylo
Oh.
Ren, he fought more like Vader, just the big, powerful slash.
I'm
Huh.
loving it. Way to pay attention to the small things, Alfie.
Yeah.
Brent's
what I'm
over
here
there
for.
going, "What did I watch that movie? What movie are you?"
I obviously didn't watch Force Awakens, but I will say, and I do have a question for you guys, our boy Palp and his lightning. How do you feel about the amount of lightning that he was able to generate?
It looked pretty.
Is that another one of those move on, Brent? Is that another one of those move on? Because when I saw him trying to shock the entire fleet from his little Coliseum, I was not really digging all of that. So
I will go with I remove myself from reality and watch the scene.
Yeah, it was a cool scene.
I
Why
like.
Didn't he
It
do
was-
it before? Who knows?
It was pretty. I'm going with that.
So let's look at she calls on be with me to get all the Jedi. We hear Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, Ahsoka, Kanan Jarrus, Luke Skywalker, Qui-Gon Jinn, Yoda. I can't even remember all the other names, but I thought that was pretty cool. Anakin Skywalker, that they brought all those voices back. I think, Brent, like you said, and I'm not sure if it was real or not, but seeing all their Force ghosts around them would have been really cool to do that.
It really would have, yeah.
I think that would have been a really cool scene to have them all help push her forward to do that.
because it would make more sense, like when she says I'm all the Jedi. It was a really powerful moment, and like I'm getting chills talking about it right now. Really powerful, and she makes the X, and she actually fights back against the lightning and overpowers Palpatine. But
Yes.
it would have been really cool just to see the support that she had, that I'm all the Jedi. That would have been another one of those fan service moments that I think would have really wowed the crowd if you were able to do that.
Agreed.
And somebody made one. I don't know. It's a YouTube thing. I saw it a while ago. I don't know where to find it or anything, but
We'll
thought it.
we'll find it. We'll find it. So did anybody think, like, is Rey gonna die? She laid there basically looking like she was dead after defeating the Emperor. Which, by the way, did anybody else think that that it looked like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where his skin was peeling back when the the ark was opened up? Anyway, and then Ben shows up again, limping along, and she had already transferred her life force into him. This is the way I'm believing it. When he finds her like that, he knows the only way to redeem himself is to save the one person who always had belief in him right there, and he transfers his life force back into her. Is that what we're going with on this? Is that
I think so.
the plan?
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet, man. Romeo and Juliet.
We'll
Just go with it, right? Just
Yeah.
go with it.
Let's go.
I mean, my instant reaction on the day that I saw this was it was 40 years for a Romeo and Juliet, because you got the Palpatines and the Skywalkers.
So I liked when she took off. Somebody said Red 5 is in the air. You know, that was cool to hear Red 5 back out there again. Nobody has a problem with Ben dying, right? Nobody has a problem with him fading away. I mean, he did some terrible, awful things. We're good with that. I mean, he was pretty much a mass murderer.
But Qui-Gon didn't fade away.
Yeah, I don't have full explanation on that. Alfie, is it you have to do something, or you have to really release your life force completely in some certain way? I don't know.
I don't know, because Anakin didn't fade away either.
Nope.
Well, because he was more machine now than man, so twisted and evil.
I don't know.
Um,
Just
So-
go with it.
once
Okay.
one thing that I
Leia was dead for half the movie, and then she
then
disappeared.
faded away. Yeah.
She faded the same, but I also liked how
She
they
faded
did
when
it.
Ben faded. You are
They
correct.
faded at the same time. I did
Okay.
like that.
One thing that stands out to me, and Anthony Daniels' book was so great talking about this. The very first words spoken in Star Wars: A New Hope were, "Did you hear that?" by C-3PO. And the last thing he said when Rey showed up at the end of the movie was, "Did you hear that?" So mirrored 9 frickin' movies to that. That I thought was really cool. And he was really excited about that, explaining that. And it stood out to me once I saw that. We talked about Lando and Jana. Whatever. Maybe, there's going to be a Lando series.
Well, I don't want to go and find out, lady.
That could be part of it, right? I
That's
mean,
pretty good, Brent. That's a pretty good impression.
I mean, it's just, I don't know.
You
Kinda
got your
creepy.
Billy D. Williams down. All right.
Let's go and find out.
what do we have here?
Tell me to buy some Colt 45.
What? Okay. We're through all that. We see them all do the big celebration at the end. What did we think about Rey finishing up the movie in Tatooine at the Lars homestead and then announcing her as Rey Skywalker and walking off to the twin sons? What did we think about those scenes? Mass, you're shaking your head. Hit me with it.
I didn't like it. I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do, and that's how it is. But I don't know. Can you be a Skywalker by just saying that you're a Skywalker? I mean, I know she's a Palpatine, and yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it.
Alfie, Brent.
So I was listening to Master and Apprentice, and I've just recently finished it. And one of the things that Qui-Gon told, is it Rael Aberoth?
Yes,
Great character.
Because he started going towards the dark, and Qui-Gon's statement was, "I choose the light because it's the light," right? So when you're saying, can you just be a Skywalker by choosing a Skywalker, it kind of brings that to me. When you say that, it made me think of that statement that it's hard. I walk the line, I may cross the line, but when it push comes to shove, I choose the light because it is the light. So in that way, I think she's choosing to tell herself and giving herself this okay to walk this way, because this is who I have become, and this is who has influenced me.
Okay. Alfie?
I'm 50-50 on this scene. I mean, you're going to get me every time with the twin suns and the binary sunset music. I like the lightsabers.
Yes, I did too.
Especially liked her making her own.
Me too.
The whole Skywalker thing, yeah. I mean, if you wanted to be, it's like if you wanted her to be nobody, just make her nobody. If you wanted her to be a Skywalker, then make her a Skywalker. Make that the story. The whole point of the movies was that she was her own person, and that she was rising above who she actually was. So then to tack on at the end that she's a Skywalker, it just didn't really. It felt too forced to me.
Well, I think there's a lot of people, and fortunately for me and pretty much all of my family, we've never had to worry about not being a part of a family or not having a name, not having family surrounding you. And here's Rey, who's been an orphan on a desert for a long time and looked for family, looked for someone who would love her, care for her. I can be down with it, and I can roll with it, and I think I can roll with it better, and I can say, hey, I'm in. Let's go with her being Rey Skywalker now. If they're going to do future things past the sequel trilogy with her leading the way, and maybe, as Luke has been saying all along, you can get rid of the Jedi, but the Force are still going to be there, right? Maybe maybe they are getting rid of the Jedi. Maybe that Last Jedi was that, and maybe her choosing the name of Skywalker is maybe Skywalker is now the thing that's a term you use with a light using force sensitive person. Maybe she makes it to where a Skywalker is now what a Jedi used to be. And, I mean, maybe that's now the new terminology. I don't know. In the Thrawn books, a person who could fly through hyperspace was a Skywalker.
Yeah, you beat me by 5 seconds.
What?
I said you beat me by 5 seconds there.
So, I mean, it could be, because I think we're going to mix Thrawn into the Mandalorian and the Ahsoka series, and she's no longer a Jedi, Ahsoka, correct? And so maybe you're going to mix in the Thrawn story with the Skywalker and Rey being a Skywalker. And I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Brent.
So she's Ahsoka Skywalker now?
Maybe she's just Ahsoka who is a Skywalker.
Or isn't Rey the balance to the Force?
She supposedly, yes.
So because at this point, Sith are gone to our knowledge. At this point,
No one's ever really gone.
Thank you. But what I'm getting at is, isn't this ultimately the one that brings the balance to the whole bring balance to the Force? Isn't Rey through all of that what brings the balance to the Force? I don't know. It's just what I was thinking about. I agree with everything that you guys have said about the twin sons is the emotional piece. I like how she buried it. I actually love her version of the lightsaber because it looks like a scrapper junker's lightsaber. I think that was fantastically made to fit her character and her personality. I still, even though I know I've been explained this 1,000 times, do not understand why it is yellow, or gold. But I like the fact that it was different because it raised that question for me. But I think I'm going back with Mass. I would have loved it to be her being nobody. And I would also have, when she said Rey, she said Rey who, she would just said just Rey and then walked away. I feel like that would have truly capped or ended the Skywalker saga by throwing the name Skywalker on the end to it. It's again, like you said, with J.J. Abrams' fatal flaw of not being able to wrap things up into packages. I think if she would have said, no, just Rey, and then you cut to the BB-8 and the twin sons, I think that would have been fantastic. Okay.
I would have almost rather her said, because I've heard the Skywalker explanation of, her taking Ben's life force and he's now part of her. So I would have rather her said like Solo was her last name.
Because she got Ben's life force?
Yeah, because like half of her is now Ben.
I like that.
Oh, there you go. We've got different opinions, and that's the good thing about it is we can all have these different opinions and be perfectly okay with, hey, that's not a bad story there, and you know what, that's not a bad take on it either. So I'm okay with it. Coming away from it, it's really weird to say it's the end of the Skywalker saga because we just saw Luke in Mandalorian. I don't know. Well, I have a feeling we're going to see more Skywalker stuff in the future, but hey, that's the end of 9. The only movie we have left to review is Rogue One. So we have to do that. And I think that's top 3 or 4 for everybody in the group.
Oh, yeah, that's a banger.
So I was waiting to bring that one out at the end. Anybody else got anything before we close shop tonight? We've kept this a long show, and I apologize. Am I good? I'm just glad Mass made it through the whole show without getting sick.
Well done.
Yes.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the effort and time you guys put in tonight. Hopefully everybody liked our show. Again, remember to follow us at rulethegalaxysw on Twitter. Email us, rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube, Rule the Galaxy. And if you subscribe to our podcast, Rule the Galaxy, send me a screenshot of you subscribed, and you will be entered for the February 15th drawing with the Rule the Galaxy prize pack that will be given away. Other than that, thank you for your time. And until next time, may the Force be with you.